Hello everyone and welcome to yet another edition of Painting with Eric. Today's fun little scene is this seascape scene down at the beach down in Crystal Cove, looking south towards Dayton Point. So, and I'm working off a photograph of this because I'm not actually down at the beach. I have painted this scene and the the Crystal Cove and the beaches and everything around here many millions of times. So it's like I'm not unknown to what the weather and most importantly what the atmosphere is really like, because that's when you do plein air painting, it's the atmosphere that changes. At least I've noticed going around the country, you just get a different atmosphere. It's kind of hard to describe or something. Anyway, so as you can see, it always cracks me up watching me paint so fast. It's hilarious. So anyway, as you can see, what I did is I just started blocking in my mass shapes, and so we have rock 1 in the lower left, rock 2 on the right side, up above my middle lines, and then you saw those little hash marks I made. That just gives me a little visual reference into where the center of the canvas is. Some people put big old crosshairs, hash marks all the way across, this and that. I just did those little titch marks, and it works for me. So as what we're doing is, again, we're putting in our mid-dark tones, using a lot of wash on this. But I'm still using all 3 colors to achieve my gray tones, my dark tones. But in this one, as you'll see a little bit later on, I use cerulean blue. And the reason I use that is because A, it's expensive, B, I've got 1 tube left, and C, the cerulean blue has a nice grayness, grayish to it. That's just hard to achieve with the other, mixing 3 colors. So I'm just using my 3 colors, going through here and picking out just shapes. I'm not trying to illustrate the rocks. I'm not trying to illustrate something here and there. I'm just trying to put in where I want my shapes to be. And they don't have to be exactly perfect or anything, because we're going to paint into them. Because this is the positive shapes painting into the negative shapes. And you can see you just mass in those colors, because you just want to give it like an overall tonality to whatever that rock is. We're gonna dig back in using the negative shape of the water to define the rocks a little bit more. And one thing I want you to notice is on this, especially on this front left rock, is I'm going to really soften up the edges on the foreground, on the top of the rock, because I really don't want your eye to get caught going into the scene. And you'll see as we progress here that you come into the scene, you have this rock here in the beginning, with the water swirling around it. And it was a really calm day for whatever reason. It was just nice and calm. So there's not a lot of waves and anything. And so what we're going to do is I want to make this rock really easy to get your eye into the painting. Make it really an easy entrance in the painting. Then it'll lead you up to the second rock, which is your main focal area, and then the hills and the backgrounds and all that stuff in the background. Really nicely grayed out in the background. This foreground here, I'm using some yellow ochre. Not surprisingly, it hasn't dried on the canvas yet. As the wet sand part. I don't know, it's easy. It makes it easy to get there. But what we're doing again is we're just trying to paint in the tonality of the scene. There's no detail or anything. I'm just putting in like a background way to make it have a nice harmonious effect to it. That's what we're going for here. There's that water in the background, and now I haven't put in the sky yet, but I know the sky is going to affect that color, so keep that in mind as we come around. And the other thing I want to notice about is and I'm not showing the photograph for whatever dumb reason here. I totally should put it like in the upper left hand corner. I'm also learning how to do these videos, so bear with me. So what's happening is I moved the scene around just enough to create the tension on the lower left corner of those rocks coming out of the frame of the painting. And then the right side, not that you can see it right on this angle, but I want to create a little bit of tension on that right side of the rock as it gets close to the frame. That's on purpose, and that tension, I think, gives it just that really, a little bit of unique thing. So I'm just going to do a little more, I don't know what it is. Sometimes like dead things on the beach. I don't know, seaweed, an occasional pigeon that didn't make it or something. Found a dead sea lion on the beach once. That was kind of gross. Anyway, so what you're not seeing right now is I'm mixing like mad on the palette, and in this case, as we go into the sky here, it wasn't a bright sunny day. It was one of those days that was like you get a lot of not quite fog, but it's just kind of a gray day. We just call them gray days, May gray. There's like not a lot of wind. It's just kind of still, and that's kind of the mood of the day. Still lots of tourists around. Don't be confused. I mean, don't let the weather bother you. So here we go in, and I really tried to work in the sky to give it some, a little bit of feeling to it. And again, there's not like clouds and anything dramatic with this, but it's just like I said, it's just like a heavy sky, whatever, a little bit of light in here. And but I used the cerulean blue in the sky in this one because, like I said, it gives me just enough to knock it back without having to add white. And I like that. Too bad cerulean blue is like, price of eggs these days. And if you're watching this from the future, there was a time when, for some odd reason, eggs became super expensive. I don't know why. Something about chickens on strike or bird flu or something. I don't know. So anyway, we're just going to go through. Now we're starting to put in a little bit of detail, start pulling out some of this detail along the way. And now what's happening is the tension on the left side, where that ocean goes into the inlet there on the left side, I didn't like it that much. So I had to go back and try and fix it a little bit. And it's just like one big bay. That used to have like single wides, mobile homes, like right on the beach. I mean, it's like, man, if you lived there, and then Greg LaRock and his wife Lori lived there, and they had like the best spot there, and it was like, he said it was just amazing. But then the state came in and said, adios muchachos, and kicked everyone off and turned it into a state park. So here we're going to start pulling out some of the details in the water, trying to bring up the water a little bit, trying to add some of the highlights. And now we're using thicker paint. The white mixed with various colors, just to try and bring out some of the sparkles, some of the minor little ripples in the water. Show the water that has just a little bit of movement to it, so you can kind of see which direction it's flowing. And so you just kind of poke some of that in there here and there. It's interesting. Sometimes you put the white like right up higher on the rock, and you're like, oh my god, no, it's not up that high. But what it does, it gives the illusion that the water is up that high, and the rock goes under the water. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's, it's like, oh my gosh, it's crystal clear water, which it really isn't around here. Trust me. But so anyway, so yes, I didn't like the tension on the left side, so I'm going to go through and try and fix that a little bit. But I don't know if I got it. We'll see. And that's Dana Point in the background. That's the headlands that you see way down there. And then of course, so anyway, okay, so now here we go. So now what I'm doing is putting in just a little bit of shadow underneath those rippling things, kind of give it a little bit of the illusion that the water is, got like, maybe six inches deep there. That's about how deep the water was coming into this little inlet here. And if I remember correctly, there's a pretty low tide. So, when you have a low tide, water is generally pretty still, at least around in these parts. So just adding a little bit of texture to it, pushing and pulling a little bit of the highlights out of it, trying to push, give a little more feeling to it, a little more brush stroke, put that feeling in the brush stroke. And okay, so now here on the left side right here, on that rock, you can see where I'm leaving it really kind of. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving this rock with very soft edges to lead your eye in. And that's about it, everyone. I want you to like, click, subscribe, give me some high hopes. And this painting is for sale, at least at the time of this recording. I hope to see you all again soon. Bye.